Okay, so we're gonna start with your waist yarn. And for the waist yarn, you want it to be a contrasting color, like than your mitten color. And I like to color this first little red bump black right before the first black pin, because then it's easier for me to see when it's coming around. So you want to go under the first black pin. We're going to do a long tail cast on, and then behind the second one, and then in front, behind, in front. Just weave back and forth all the way around. Put your yarn in the yarn holder, and then we're going to go for six rows of waist yarn. And for this first row, go easy. You want all the stitches to catch. Cut your waist yarn and put it in the center. Make sure it stays under this white pin. And we're going to go for 5 rows. Cut your yarn and put it into the center, making sure it's staying under this white peg. Okay, so then put your next color in, making sure it goes under this first black pin. That goes in, and then I'm just going to tie these together. You don't want to tie them too tight because you don't want to distort the stitch, but you want them to be a little snug. And I'm going to use my little drill attachment. I've got like a little screwdriver and this little attachment that I bought on Amazon, and it just fits onto the handle. After I go through this first row. So we're going to be going to row 42 with this main color. So once you get back to the first black peg, when you're done the 42nd row, put your yarn into the middle, making sure it's under this white peg, and then get your the other color that you want for your borders. And put that into the yarn holder, making sure it's going around the first black pin. And we're going to be doing one row of this one, this color. Put this color in to the center and pull the black out. Put the black into the yarn holder. And we're going to be doing one row of black. And then put the black into the center. Put the gold back in. Do 2 rows of the gold. So then when you get back to the beginning, take your black out, put the gold in. Do 1 row of black. Okay. And now you can cut your black. And take your gold out. Put it into the yarn holder, making sure it's going under the first black pin. And then do 6 rows. You can cut your yarn and grab your waste yarn. And we're going to do 6 rows of waste yarn. Okay, so then you can cut your waste yarn. Close your yarn holder, and then just go without any yarn for 2 rows. And on the second row, it'll pop your project off your machine. Right. So then you just want to go ahead and stretch your project to get all the stitches all nice and even. You want to go ahead and repeat this step, create another one of these for the second glove, and then meet me back here and I will show you how to finish it. I'm going to show you how to close up these ends first, and then we will sew them together. So for this part, you're going to need your crochet hook. So I have a 4.5 millimeter. And so because we did this on the 46 pin Addi, we're going to need to count to 23, and that's going to be our first stitch. So I'm going to actually grab two stitch markers. And so we want to put the stitch markers in these two last stitches here. This one and this one. So we're going to count. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm just going to put that in there because that's where we're going to start. So we want to keep this strand out because we're going to be pulling this through the last stitch. Okay, so now that you're in your 23rd stitch from your first stitch marker, this is where we're going to start. So you're going to go into the next stitch over and then just pull it through that stitch, and then go over to this next stitch and pull it through, and you're just going to be going back and forth. So then go back over to this side and pull this next stitch over, and then this side, and you're just going to do that all the way along. And you want to make sure that you grab every single stitch, because if you leave one of these stitches undone, it's going to unravel all the way down. Okay, so then when you get to your last stitch, just pull this tail through and it ties a little knot. So now we can unravel the waste yarn, and since this is the end that we started on, we're going to have to go around and just pull out this first row. So you just have to do the first row because we started with this waste yarn. So on our other side, we're going to be able to just rip it out. But because we started with the waste yarn, we just got to pull this strand out first before we can pull it out easily. So now you'll be able to pull it out easily, just unravel. All right, and then you got your beautiful finished edge. Nice and neat. And then you can just tuck this end in through the layers, like in between these layers. So I use my cord safety pin and my yarn needle. Thread the yarn needle. Pull that through. And then just stick this in between the two layers. And you can trim this. And then just give it a little pull. And that's hidden. Okay, so now go ahead and do that for all three of these edges. Now I'm going to show you how to stitch the side together. So I find it helpful to put stitch markers along the stitch that you're going to be stitching. So then that way, because it kind of twists, so we want to follow this stitch all the way along, and then I just place a stitch marker along this stitch because it kind of turns. But here it goes all the way to the end, and I do that on both sides. And make sure that you're grabbing the right stitch and they're both going the same way. This stitch is going this way, so the V is pointing this way, and then on this side the V is pointing that way. So that's what you want. You want to make sure that they're both going the same direction, because we're going to be grabbing in the middle. So these little bars in between, like in the middle of the V's, that's what we're going to be grabbing as we're stitching it together. So it'll be an invisible join. Okay, so to start, you want to thread your yarn needle and we're just going to start by attaching our yarn to the corner. So I'm going to tie a little knot. And then you can tuck this little end in between the two layers. And just trim it, and then you can just give it a little pull. Okay. And now thread this longer side into the yarn needle. Okay. So you want to fold your work, and then you're going to match up these stitches. To start, I'm just going to go in the end and just kind of do a whip stitch. Just to secure those ends together. So now these are the stitches that I'm going to be working into in the middle of. So these ones and then these ones. So to start, I'm actually just going to take this out, take this one out because I know that I'm working into these stitches. I'm just going to go in, and you want to grab the two little bars on that side, and then you go onto this side. This one's a little easier to see. You just want to go in the middle and grab those two little bars in the middle. And that's where you're going to be doing all the way down. When we get to the black though, I'm going to change to the black yarn. So now you go back into the other side, take the next two bars, Okay, so then when you get to the end, you can just hold the edge and just pull it snug. And there we have a nice little join, invisible join. So I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot. Just going to trim this and hide the yarn in between these layers. So now this is where your thumb's going to be coming out. So we're going to leave a space for the thumb. So your thumb will come out, and I'm going to leave, I'm going to count down from where the black starts, 7 stitches, and then put a different colored, like a stitch marker, just so I know then that's where I'm going to start sewing the rest of the mitt together, or wrist warmer together. And I want it to be on this stitch, so I'm just finding that stitch again and counting. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you can leave this opening as big as you want. So if 7 is too big for you, you can make it smaller. This is just what works for me. I'm going to put my stitch marker into the 7th stitch. And I'm just going to find the stitch on this side. I'm just counting 7 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm actually going to put the stitch marker through both of those. Okay. So that's going to be where you start stitching the rest. Okay, so now you can get some black yarn and thread your yarn needle. And I'm going to go right through that stitch. I went through both of the stitches, and I'm going to tie a knot. And I'm going to go around again and just tie a double knot. Okay. And then you can hide this little end in between the 2 layers. Okay. And then you want to thread the long part onto your yarn needle. You can remove that stitch marker now. Okay, so we want to find these stitches and line them up. So these are the stitches that we're going through. So I want to start and the same as we were doing before, just find those 2 bars and go through. And then just go back and forth like we were doing before, making sure you're staying in the right stitch line. So I'm just going to move this stitch marker as we go, just to make sure, because it is handy to have this in here to see, like, to make sure you're on the right stitch. You can see, you can't even see like where the join is. That's the invisible join. I know it's hard to see on this color, but even here, it's so beautiful. The join is so nice and invisible. That's why you don't want to go into the wrong stitch, otherwise you'll see where you've gone in the wrong place. That's why I like to have the stitch markers, just to make sure that I'm going along the same stitch. Okay, so then here I'm going to tie off the knot and then change to gold. Tie a knot and then tuck it in the middle. A nice, clean, invisible join. You can't even tell where it was joined. Okay, so now I'm going to take some of the gold . Okay, I'm just going to go through those stitches and then tie a knot. And then you can hide this end in between. Okay, so then you want to find these stitches. Okay, and then just tighten that, and now I am going to tie a knot. Okay, and now you can tuck this in. All right. So now you can leave it like this, or you can follow along and watch how I knit this little thumb piece on. So it depends on how you want to finish it. I personally like this little thumb piece because then it's warmer. So I will show you how I did this. Right? So if you want to do the knitted thumb, with me, you're gonna need, these are number 4 knitting needles, so they're 3.5 millimeter knitting needles, and I'm going to do it, I'm going to show you today with the magic loop version, so you just need a longer cable. I bought these at Knit Picks, but yeah, it just has a, they're interchangeable, so I just bought a kit and it has some, but this is for lace and socks and stuff, and mittens. It's perfect for this, and it has a thin cable. So I can't remember what size cable this is. It's like 32 inches, I think. 32 or 40. You just need a long cable so you can have the loop, because you have your working yarn on here, and then this is the one that you're going to be working from, so you're going to have this as a loop. So I'll show you how to do that, or you can use double pointed needles. Let's get started. So first you're gonna come around here and you're just gonna pick up 19 stitches. Okay, so you're just gonna pick up the loops all along, so pick up 19 stitches. Okay, so there's 9, so I'm just going to pull that through and then go and pick up 9 more. So I'm going to have the loop out the end, and so this is going to be you're working the needle that you're taking your stitches off of first, and then you pull this, so you have a little loop here, and then you have more give, like for this needle. So this is the magic loop version. Okay, so to start, we're going to start with a black. Black yarn, and after the first you're going to need a stitch marker. So after the first stitch we're going to place the stitch marker on to mark the beginning of the round. Okay. Okay, so place your stitch marker on after the first stitch. Okay, so then once you're done knitting those stitches, then you can just pull this side, pull the needle into these ones, and then pull this needle out so you have the loop. Okay. So we're gonna go around and do 5 rows of black. Okay, so once you've finished the 5 rows of black, you can cut your black yarn. You can cut your black yarn, and I just tuck it in to the thumb. So now you can add the gold. And we're going to do 4 rows of gold. And I'll show you how to fix the jog when you come back around. So we'll do the 1 row. So now that we're back at the first stitch, to get rid of the jog, because sometimes, like, well, when you go in the round, this layer will be below this one because we're going in a spiral. So to fix that, you can take, this is hard to see with this, the stitch below it, just hook the right hand loop and put it on top of, put it up here, and then you're going to knit those together. So the bottom stitch, and then knit these together. And that'll help keep the spiral, it'll not have a jog in it, so it'll be more smooth. Okay, so then knit 3 more rows and then meet me back here and I will show you how to bind off. Okay, so now that you've finished the 4 rows, we can bind off. And to bind off, I want to knit 1 and get rid of the stitch marker now. Knit the second one. Pull this first stitch that you did over top of the second one and let it drop off. Okay, so knit the next one, and the same thing. Pull this stitch over top of the other one and let it drop off. And do that all the way around. Okay, so then when you're done, you can cut the gold yarn and then pull it through the loop. And then there's this kind of gap, I'll show you what I do. So yarn, or thread your yarn needle. And then I like to go through the stitch. And see how it just brings that in, so it's nice and smooth. And then wrap around under that stitch. And I go through one more time. And then you can tie a knot. And then I like to turn it inside out, and then you can weave in all the ends. So I like to tie these together just so they don't come undone. And then you can weave these in. I'm going to weave this one in. So with this, I'll just go through and just do a zigzag pattern down and then up. And then weave in the rest. And you can, I turned it inside out, so this is the inside. And then just weave in the rest and then turn it inside out, and you are finished. Alright, well that wraps up this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Before we part ways, don't forget to hit that like button if you found this tutorial helpful. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more knitting adventures and creative inspiration. Until next time, happy knitting!